So Joe Scarborough responded to RussiaGate imploding, and honestly, I can't believe I'm going to say this, his response was even worse than Rachel Maddow, who is the queen of RussiaGate. So this is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. It's totally dishonest. Let's watch, and then I'll break it down.
What would you have had the media do over the past 2 years when Donald Trump lied throughout the 2016 campaign about his contacts with Russia? Now, why would Donald Trump lie about Russia? Why would the man who was coming in to have the most powerful foreign policy position, the National Security Advisor, General Flynn, why did he lie to the FBI in December about his contacts with Czechoslovakians? Swedes? No. With Russians. And that wasn't even a Russian accent. Somehow the French thing got in there somewhere.
Okay.
Why in January would Mike Pence go on a Sunday show and lie and say, actually, nobody in the Trump campaign ever talked to any Russians during the campaign? Why would he do that when telling the truth would have been so much easier? Why would the Attorney General of the United States, before becoming Attorney General, lie to members of his own Senate about having contacts with the Russians? And let me just stop you right here and ask a question. What should the media have done when everybody, it seems, that was close to the president, everybody that I was told were the president's closest advisors in 2016, everybody who I was told flew on the plane with Trump all across America? What was the press to report on when all of these lies were tumbling out of the mouths of all of these Trump aides? Should we have reported on horse farms in Kentucky? Or done investigations into how maybe eating tree bark would lower our cholesterol? What would you have had us do? And I don't just say this to people on the right who have found common cause with conspiracy theorists over Seth Rich or Sandy Hook. I'm saying this to established journalists who are wringing their hands and saying, this is worse than WMD. Is it really? Is that why George Papadopoulos lied to the FBI, got sent to jail? Is that why the National Security Advisor lied?
Yeah, Paul Manafort.
Yeah, and his campaign manager not only got caught lying to the FBI, but after he was in talking to the FBI, got caught lying again. Donald Trump's second in command, behind Paul Manafort, got caught lying to the FBI. And then, when he was delivering his proffer, he got caught lying to the FBI. The man that Donald Trump knew longer than anybody else in politics. You see him on the lower right-hand corner. Yeah, you know, the guy with the Nixon tattoo on his back got caught lying to the FBI. About what? What was the media supposed to do at that point? Shrug it off? No, you know the answer. And just because you're sucking up to Donald Trump, and just because power is all that matters to you, and just because you will justify everything that man does, and just because you are corrupt, just because you're not a journalist, just because you have sold your soul to a personality cult, don't knock reporters at the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal or the broadcast networks for doing their job right.
They didn't do their job right. That's the point. They got it dead wrong. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. If what they said was correct, the Mueller report's conclusion would have been more indictments coming, a recommendation of impeachment, and there is a plethora of evidence of Trump colluding with the Russian government. That didn't happen, Joe. That didn't happen. And don't give me this bullshit about how somehow the guy who was investigating him for over 2 years looked in the wrong direction. He looked under the wrong rock. He somehow missed the super obvious conspiracy that this dumbass armchair pontificator was able to piece together because he thinks he's goddamn Sherlock Holmes. They didn't get it right. And if you were willing to actually follow the evidence as opposed to your narrative, you would already know this. By the way, I think he took some veiled shots at Greenwald in there too, when he said, I'm not just talking to people on the right, I'm talking to the established journalists who say this is as bad as WMDs. So Greenwald, at various times throughout all of RussiaGate, wrote these articles where his hair was on fire and he was screaming to anybody who would listen. Whoa, 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 whoa. Here's like a dozen documented cases from like a 2-week period where the media, they just flat out ran factually wrong articles that they later had to retract. Some of them were retracted. Some of them were amended. Some of them were proven dead wrong, but they fucking kept up the story anyway. So the whole point, Joe, is that they didn't get it right. That's the whole point. This, by the way, this is the same dodge they used with Iraq and WMDs, where they said, what would you have us do? Woe is us, the wonderful mainstream media. What would you have us do? The intelligence agencies were telling us that Saddam had WMDs. Your job is to fact check them, not be fucking stenographers to power, you idiots. You idiots. How do you not know this? How do you not know this? I'm an asshole with a YouTube channel, and I know it. You don't know it? Are you that dumb? The answer is yes, because that's why they're in the position they're in. That's why he's on MSNBC. That's why a lot of the assholes on CNN are on CNN. They're not going to rock the boat. They're not going to question the status quo. They're not going to buck the narrative. Wolf Blitzer one time Rand Paul was on Wolf Blitzer's show, and Rand Paul said, hey, maybe we should stop arming the Saudis because they're like a terror state and they're doing a genocide in Yemen. And Wolf Blitzer's response was, what about the profits of the defense contractors and all the jobs that we'll lose if we stop arming them? What? 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 Are you kidding me? I have no words. I have no words in response to that. Look at what he's doing here. It's at the point, this is just dishonest. You're being dishonest. You're not being upfront. You're deflecting on purpose. You're obfuscating and rationalizing on purpose. So the whole point, Joe, is they didn't get the story right. That's the whole fucking point, and now that's proven. And again, before anybody says, oh, we don't see the full Mueller report. The Barr summary, if it was incorrect, Bob Mueller or somebody on his team would have corrected it already. They would have said, no, you're misleading everybody. This is not accurate. But they didn't say that. You want to know why? Because it is correct. And remember, no more indictments coming, no recommendation of impeachment, no evidence of collusion. Those are the 3 biggest findings. You could try to talk your way around that all day, but you're full of shit. You're full of shit. And how do I know Mueller would have come out and corrected it if it was wrong? He already did it. He did it in the case where they tried to say it was Manafort or somebody who met with Julian Assange. BuzzFeed did breaking news, bombshell, walls are caving in, Julian Assange met with fucking blah, blah, blah. Bob Mueller came out the next day and was like, this is not true. This is wrong. You're just wrong. So Bob Mueller would have done that if the Barr summary was incorrect. Okay. Now let's go through more of what he said here specifically. I like how, again, he's just saying misleading shit. Towards the end, he's talking about, and all you guys who want to suck up to Trump and Joe, nobody's more anti-Trump than me. You are way more pro-Trump than me. And I am out here, I'm not defending Trump, I'm defending objective reality and facts. You know who else is doing that? Glenn Greenwald, Jimmy Dore, Aaron Mate, Rania Khalek, many others who've been correct. There's a lot of people on the left who actually got RussiaGate right. So stop trying to frame it as like, this is obviously just a Trump thing, and if you were against RussiaGate, you're obviously just trying to suck up to Trump. No, that's not true. And then he's detailing like, why did this person lie? Why did that person lie? Why did that person lie? And do you see what he's trying to imply? He's trying to say, listen, they all lied. So basically, Robert Mueller obviously got it wrong because we in the media, wonderful media, reported the stories and they all point in that direction. So what would you want us to do? Pretend like he didn't collude with Russia? Again, the problem is you didn't follow the evidence. And all that was incredibly misleading because he brings up Flynn, for example. Flynn was lying on the issue of Turkey, not on the issue of Russia. I mean, again, he's so full of shit, and he's giving you half-truths and trying to steer you in the wrong direction here. The problem with Flynn was he didn't register as a foreign agent helping a foreign government. That foreign government was Turkey. Funny how nobody screams about Turkey collusion. But What did he do? He took $500 from the Turkish government, and then he tried to get Gulen, what's the word? I forget the word for it. Not outsourced. Given over to Turkey, whatever it's called. Deported. I don't know. There's another word that I'm missing right now. But he tried to get that dude back to Turkey, and he tried to pull strings behind the scenes to do that. And also, he was fighting against a Washington policy, which is the consensus, which is we should arm the Kurds because the Kurds are fighting ISIS. So he steps up and goes, I don't think we should do that. I think it's a bad idea. Why would we do that? This isn't a good idea. And he wasn't disclosing that he was on the payroll of the Turkish government who were lobbying to try to get the Kurds not armed because they hate the Kurds. So that's the issue with Flynn, and he's misleading you and acting like it has something to do with Russia. Even in the case of Manafort, Manafort was lobbying pro-Western elements in Ukraine. So in other words, working directly against the interests of Russia, and he tries to frame it like he was working for the interests of Russia. Notice, not a single thing is brought up about U.S. policy towards Russia in this rant. Why? Because the overwhelming majority of U.S. policies towards Russia are more hawkish. So obviously Trump's not a Putin puppet. Obviously he didn't do collusion. He's been escalating with Russia across the board. U.S. warships in the Black Sea. NATO buildup on Russia's border. Look at what we're doing in Venezuela. It's the opposite of what Russia wants. Permanent military occupation of Syria. That's exactly the opposite of what Russia and Vladimir Putin wants. And the list goes on. Trying to get the Germany to end their oil deal with Russia so that they have an oil deal with us instead. Is that what Putin wants? To lose a tremendous amount of money? Is that what his puppet would try to have done? No. So they're just liars. So there's so much more. I've said this before. I'll say it again. There's so much more evidence of Trump being Saudi Arabia's puppet, Trump being Israel's puppet, but they just ignore that. They don't care about that. And furthermore, dude, you're arguing that Trump is involved in this grand conspiracy and his team is involved in this grand conspiracy. They're a bunch of fucking idiots. They're all so stupid. And by the way, half the time these guys admit that. Like, oh yeah, Trump's a dumbass. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's shooting from the hip. So the guy who's a lunatic who's shooting from the hip, who doesn't know anything about anything, somehow created this giant grand conspiracy. I mean, it's just... It hurts to even talk about this. I don't want to talk about this shit anymore. It's so obnoxious and it's so dumb, but they can't help themselves. They're doubling down. Why? Because they were so invested in this. They put all their eggs in this basket. And final point is, the people he's listing are caught on unrelated financial crimes or just lying to the FBI. That's all they're caught on. And so the same people who found that, oh God, they lied to us a lot and they did these unrelated financial crimes, that same team is also the same team that found there's no evidence of collusion with Russia. So you can't accept half their findings and then dismiss the other half the findings because it doesn't fit your narrative. But that's exactly what you're doing because you're a fucking hack. That's what you are, Joe. You're a hack. But understand something. This is all they have. Because what are they going to do on Morning Joe? Are they going to talk about the serious issues that we talk about on this show all the time? Are they going to talk about how Donald Trump's healthcare policy made it so that 7 million people lost health insurance under his administration? Are they going to talk about how real wages are falling 1%? Are they going to talk about how we're bombing 8 different countries and in many cases we're doing it illegally? Are they going to talk about any of these serious issues, how we need an infrastructure deal? Are they going to talk about the rise of hookworm in rural parts of the South because we have a country that's moving backwards in many respects? Are they going to talk about... They're not going to talk about any of this. You want to know why? Because they're a bunch of overpaid, babbling, elitist idiots. That's what they are. And they're embarrassing. And if you watch them, I just need you to know, these are all charlatans. They're charlatans. Trump is full of shit. You know who else is full of shit? Joe Scarborough. Totally full of shit. Notice, there was none of that was like actually trying to reckon with the news that just came out. None of it. None of it. None of it. None of it. The whole thing was like, I'm going to defend us. I'm going to defend us. No, the reality is, all the people in the media who got this dead wrong, they shouldn't have a job in media anymore. Because you have to understand something. They just suck at their job. That's the point. They just suck at it. They're not doing their job correctly. It's like you hire somebody to be a kindergarten teacher, and they just don't show up. Or they show up, but they show up and try to teach these kindergartners how to use a chainsaw, and one of them cuts off somebody's hand. Me? Why? You're going to punish me for that? Yeah. You didn't do your job right. You're a fucking idiot. So all these people who are RussiaGate peddlers, they should be all fair. Not going to happen, though. Why? Look what happened with WMDs. The people who got it right were marginalized. The people who got it wrong were promoted. Some of the people who got it wrong are controlling our foreign policy today. John Bolton. Today controlling it. Today. There's no accountability in this world, man. Only in politics and media and Wall Street do you fail up. You fail up. Hey, all of us elitist assholes got it wrong, so if you got it wrong with us, we're going to protect our own. We're going to protect the powerful. And then people like me got it right. Glenn Greenwald, Jimmy Dore, many others got it right. Max Blumenthal, Ben Norton. What's going to happen with us? Further marginalization. And people are still arguing with us. As if we weren't vindicated, they're arguing with us. It's incredible. It's incredible. And again, the arguments they use are just... It's hard to believe that they believe it, but many of them do. Some of them are just lying. Many of them do believe it. But here we go. Their response to failing miserably is to double down.